A terrified 9-year-old boy dangled like a raw piece of meat in front of a pack of prisoners. His crime, stealing pocket change from his mom and lying.
What's up, Authentic fam? Welcome back for another discussion. Now, that traumatic clip that I just showed you guys, it actually isn't real. What do I mean by not real? Were they handing that little kid over into the cell? Yes and no. That's actually from a TV show similar to Scared Straight. Now, I'm sure all of you guys have heard of Scared Straight, but growing up as an 80s baby, primarily the 90s is where I grew up, that shit was about the closest that kids got to real jail. But apparently, things have changed.
A 10-year-old boy may be facing 6 months in jail for hugging his teacher.
Most 6-year-olds are working on their ABCs, learning a little bit of math. One Colorado boy is at home suspended for sexual harassment.
How?
You heard that right.
Yes.
He kissed a female classmate on the hand and cheek, and the school suspended Hunter Yelton for sexual harassment. They use these words, and that's important here, and they put the offense on the school record.
This 10-year-old little boy with autism was arrested at his school by police for kicking a teacher. And it doesn't stop there, because USA's Today analysis of federal crime reports identified more than 2,600 arrests involving kids ages 5 to 9 between 2000 and 2019. That's an average of 130 students a year. And if you note at the bottom here, the FBI arrests note that Black children and children with disabilities are disproportionately affected.
All right, guys, so this one is really disappointing. You know, it really sucks that we even have to talk about this, but it's happening, so let's talk about it. Now, all three articles that were mentioned, I actually read through these articles because I wanted to know as much details as I could about these three situations, because this is really expected, but at the same time, it's still just as alarming. You know what I mean? Even though I knew this is the direction that we're going in, I mean, it wasn't hard to see this if you understand how the agendas work, how the elites operate, and how they basically manipulate our culture and engineer our society. So the social engineering is real. If you understand what these people's goals are, you can kind of just reverse engineer it and backtrack to where we are now, and you can easily see how we got where we are and pretty much where we're headed. But as I looked into all three of these articles, there were no details that would basically justify the treatment of these young boys. It was pretty much just as simple as
a 10-year-old little boy is facing a battery charge because he hugged his teacher.
If you're watching this channel, you probably already know what it is. Basically, the smart guys who know how to read in between the lines, we knew that the Me Too movement, that hashtag Me Too, we knew that that was an agenda from jump. We knew it wasn't all men, most men, majority of men, not even close. First of all, men that are in that type of position of power are the minority by far, right? So how many guys are CEOs to begin with? How many guys are record execs to begin with? You know, how many guys do the casting for movies to begin with? So you're already talking about point something percent of guys that are even in a position to pull, say, a casting couch type scenario. And if you know as much as I know about those scenarios, majority of the time, it's the females that are actually trying to get that type of arrangement. They're basically offering themselves for that type of deal or that type of barter so that they can come up without actually having any merit and just come up off of their sexuality. But right now what we're seeing, sorry guys, I'm in Miami, so you already know, most internationally visited city in the world. So yeah, there's always going to be a plane going by, especially when I'm recording. But back to what I was saying. So what we're basically seeing here now is the next phase of the Me Too agenda. And the first phase, from what I can see, is let's demonize men on a whole. And now that we've got that to sink in, and we got people buying into that, weak ass soy boys, and also these, emotional minded women that have no men in their lives to center that, because that's part of the agenda, guys, that I want to point out. Some people are probably thinking it's not significant. It's significant, okay? The elites understand who the logical component is gender-wise, and they know who the more emotional component is gender-wise. So they know when they remove men from the picture, women have nothing else but their emotional mind. So trust me, the elites know if you keep women single, once they move out of their parents' house that didn't have a father in it anyway, because we've already removed the father out of the house. So now the daughter grew up without a father to begin with, so she believes all this rhetoric she's taught in the universities about the patriarchy and blah blah blah. Okay, now the next phase is keep this dumb broad single, so now there's no men in her childhood growing up, and there's also no stable consistent man in her adulthood. So now there's no men in the picture, okay? And any men that do come into the picture and try to say, no, that's not what it is. It's actually, don't mansplain to me. So I want you guys to understand how calculated all of this manipulation is. They manipulate the language so that we don't even know what words mean anymore, which is why you'll have words like, don't mansplain to me. Yes, that was very strategically put there. So we get the father up out of there. He's nothing but child support. We convince women that they don't need men in their lives. And then we also convince women that men are just mansplaining. You don't have to listen to that. So what's left? Stupid emotional thinking that allows women to actually buy into the idea of all men being predators, all men being dangerous. And what's the next phase? Even little boys are dangerous.
Little boys can't even ask for hugs without possibly facing jail time. This teacher's honest to God allegation against this little boy is that he came up, asked her for a hug, she turned her body to the side, and he put one hand on her shoulder and the other one on her boob. That was enough for him to get suspended.
So joining us now to talk about this, Kelly Wallace, CNN's digital correspondent and editor-at-large. She's also our parenting expert. There's a lot to talk about here.
What do you think, Kelly? Well, I mean, outrageous, right? And it's not just something I feel. Lots of people are talking about it online because, number one, not only do people think he kissed the girl on the hand, that he's suspended for that, but sexual harassment. We're talking about a 6-year-old.
All right, so check out the disingenuous, manipulative mainstream media, right? You saw the body language on that female, you saw her tone in her voice, and you saw all that smiling she was doing and giggling and laughing like this is funny. Now, this is supposed to be, a female with the female energy, and she's supposed to be a nurturer. She's supposed to care about children. Yeah, well, I don't listen to what people say. I only watch what they do. And if women cared so much about children, how is it that they don't mind raising them without a father, which is extremely detrimental to the children? But you can't show women that literature. They don't want to see those statistics. They don't want to see that data. Nope. So you can't tell me they care about kids, or they would do what's absolutely best for children in every scenario. But here you have this goofy ass broad giggling and laughing like this kid going to jail for something as innocent as getting a hug from his teacher is something to joke about. She doesn't care about children. She just cares about her clout and her paycheck, which is why she will get up on this television and lie to you just like everybody else that works in the media. And now I want you to pay attention to her male counterpart and how disingenuous this soy boy is.
And what impact does this have on this little boy?
I think it's important. It's the words here that are so much the issue. We don't always know the entire backstories here. I think he's done something before. There may be behavioral issues. They may have a reason.
Behavioral issues. Imagine having this conversation with your 6-year-old son that he kissed a girl in school on the hand. And this is how the school responds. Is there not a narrative against men in society today? Tell me, dude, are we not viewed as predators by default? Tell me that this, quote, narrative of the patriarchy and men are oppressing everybody is not instituted down to boys now. 6-year-old.
Yeah, you heard Buddy over here trying to give credit and justification to somehow putting a kid in jail. Oh yeah, maybe it's behavioral problems. Even if it was behavioral problems, jail is not where you put children, bruh. Okay? But I guess that check is more important than being honest and having some integrity and, oh, God forbid, caring about the children, right? But shout out to Tribe of Men. Really cool dude. Got the chance to speak with him. He's all on board with all of these issues. I like how he's bringing attention to it. I like his commentary on it. I think the channel is just phenomenal, bro. Very smooth, very professional. And, can't wait to have dude on my channel. It's going to happen, guys. Trust me.
If you have a son, a male best friend, a father, a brother, an uncle, a grandfather, then you really need to get passionate about men's rights, because the world for men is not as like la-di-da-di.
Absolutely. I agree with her 100% on that one, because I might not be a father, and a large reason I'm not a father is issues like this, because I'm not just talking when I tell you guys I've been peeping these things from years ago. I'm always watching these things from the very beginning, or at least as soon as I'm interact with it, or as soon as I see it and catch wind of it from jump. I'm always like, I'm analyzing it. I'm like, okay, this is fishy. I don't trust the mainstream. I don't trust the elites. I don't trust the government. I don't trust no academia. I don't trust none of that shit. So every time I see something, I'm always like, 9/11? What happened? What happened now? I knew 9/11 was an inside job and a hoax and a psyop from 5 minutes into the news report. 5 minutes into it, bro. I was like, okay, nah, they're lying. This is not what it is, bro. You got to be able to read in between the lines. All right, bro, you gotta be able to read in between those lines, right? So I always knew something was funky about this whole, this whole push to demonize boys, demonize men, and now we say that they're operating on the boys. Now that they've gotten people to accept that men are toxic, masculinity is toxic, now they're working on the boys. So shout out to Romy Army. I'm gonna owe her an apology. I don't think that she's a chameleon anymore, guys. You know what I mean? But I said that, so I own that. I take it back. I retract my statement. Did more research on her, got to know more about her. I don't think she's a chameleon, bro. I think she's just a chick that actually cares about men's issues. And to be honest with you, the more and more research I do into her is the more and more things I find out she's doing that male content creators aren't doing. So even if she was a chameleon, she's still doing a hell of a lot more for the community than so-called male activists. So that's something to think about. But to her point about if you have men in your life, then this should be important to you. So where I was going with this is, because I've seen the world just spiraling down, is why I've kind of stayed away from becoming a father. I've had many opportunities. I've been married. I've had women that literally tried to pay me, for the baby batter, guys, and not even like just pay me for the baby. I don't see my kid no more. Like there was women that were willing to write up contracts and give me full, rights to the baby and whatnot. But it wasn't so much not being able to trust the woman, right? When I first came into adulthood, it was not trusting women. Why I didn't want to have a kid at first, because I always felt like a kid could take your baby. I knew so many guys, guys I've seen in the neighborhood aren't able to see their own kids, and all the women care about is the child support money. So it was my fear of what women would do with my kid, why I first didn't want to have a kid. And then as women, jumped through hoops to make me more comfortable about it, it started to become more the society and the direction that we're going in that repelled me from having children. And here we are with shit like this on the table, and I absolutely do not regret not having children now, because this is exactly the type of stuff that I was afraid of. So to respond to her comment about that, it touches me right here with it, because I have multiple nephews. I might not be a father, but I have several nephews, and I also have a godson. So this is really hard, bro, because this is what is out there for them. You see what I'm saying? They not safe, bro. And I don't see what father, what uncle, what mentor, coach, or whatever can protect a kid from this type of threat on his innocence. I mean, where's the margin for error here, bro? Throwing kids in jail for making innocent mistakes like that? Real quick, bro, confession time. When I was 10, 11, 12, bro, you know what we were doing? Bro, we were putting mirrors. We were taping mirrors to our shoes so that at recess, we could put our foot under girls' skirts and we can look up their skirts. Now, say that to a woman and she's gonna, oh, you little pervert, you little creep. But if I'm being 100% honest, it wasn't even coming from a sexual place, bro. We didn't know what the heck to do with no punani. It was coming from a place of curiosity. It wasn't even coming from a sexual place. And I don't know how many of you guys can remember the first time you felt up on a boob. Well, some of you guys probably grown-ass men and still didn't feel up on a boob. But a lot of, 90s, kids that grew up in the 90s, all right? A lot of times the first time we felt up on a boob, it wasn't even sexual. It was just we got an opportunity to touch up or brush up against the boob, and we took it, whether it be an auntie, your sister's, your older sister's friend or whatever. You rubbed up on a boob, and it was more curiosity than anything. It wasn't you were trying to molest her. It was, I don't know what boobs feel like. First you look at them, you're like, you're looking at boobs. Then next thing you know, you want to kind of touch a boob. That's normal. We're boys. You mean to tell me you could have threw me in jail for that, bro? You mean to tell me I could be a convict? I could have been an adolescent convict because I touched on some boobs?
This is really giving Emmett Till vibes. He was a little black boy who got beat to death by grown men because a white lady accused him of touching her inappropriately.
Now that comment that she just made about Emmett Till, let this plane pass. I hope that plane is going somewhere with more feminine, sensible women. Every time I hear a plane go by, I'm like, somebody living that passport life. That comparison that she made to Emmett Till, I think that's very important, and I'm going to tell you why. I don't know if that's where she was going with it, but what I see when I see this shit, okay, walk with me, guys. Walk with me now. Walk with me now. I want you to pay attention to this. There was a time when they were campaigning, right, for how dangerous black people were. All black people are criminals. Black people are... Okay, that stigma stuck. That was propaganda. At the time that they first started saying that, there wasn't even that much crime in the black community. Not at all. So they literally engineered society as well as black people to look at black people as criminals, as dangerous. And guess what? That stigma stuck. It was based on propaganda, but it actually took hold, and then it actually started to become somewhat true. That's very important. Now, they did the same thing with Mexicans. They sat here and told you these reefer smoking Mexicans are dangerous. They're the devil. They're smoking the devil's weed, right? Okay, well now marijuana is legal. So what happened? They convinced the world that this was a terrible drug that made Mexicans grapists. You know what I mean? Made people get crazy with the eyes. If you guys don't believe me, go do some fucking research. Please go do some research. Go look into what I'm trying to tell you. There were huge campaigns that cost a lot of money. Go look into where that money was coming from to convince the public through the media that Mexicans were dangerous and they smoked weed and it made them go crazy, right? And I've had arguments with, people trying to tell me how dangerous Mexicans are and Mexicans are criminals. Meanwhile, they've never been to Mexico and they're talking to El Negro that lived in Mexico, right? So I'm just like, tell me more about these Mexicans you know nothing about. You see what I'm saying? So where I'm going with this, guys, is that if you go back and do a little bit of history work, you'll see that many times in history, they've convinced people of a complete lie. They've demonized groups of people based on nothing, and the public bought it. No evidence needed, bro. They just put it in newspapers, put it in books, put it on posters, drew caricatures of it, okay? And people bought into it. People believed it. Now we have social media. This type of nonsense spreads even faster. So how long is it going to be before they finish convincing us that all men are toxic and all men are dangerous, and then they start to convince us now that boys are also toxic and they're also dangerous? Because once you accept one as fact, it's not hard to see how a young boy is going to grow up to be that. For example, we know lions are dangerous. You know, lions is an animal you don't want to mess with. So how long is a cub going to be just cute and cuddly before you start looking at that cub like he might bite me? Okay, I used to have an alligator as a kid. My grandfather let me have an alligator for a little while. Notice I said little while. I wanted to keep that mug. He told me there's an expiration date on how long you can have that alligator. Me and my friends, we went and did what we did, and we located some eggs, and we kept checking on them eggs, because as soon as them bad boys hatched, we was each gonna get us an alligator, right? Just like them little kids from Game of Thrones each had a wolf. That was the goal, right? We each got our little alligator, baby alligator, right? I used to feed the alligator beef jerkies. Where I'm going with this is, it wasn't but so long before that alligator went from biting beef jerkies to biting fingers. Yeah, it was cute when I was making that little, you know, little cute little thing. Once it got to about 3-4 feet, it wasn't cute no more. Take off your finger, right? But what I'm saying is, that's what they're trying to convince us about our boys.
And now we're at the place where little boys cannot ask for physical affection. You know what makes me so sad is that most kids don't ask their teachers for a hug. Maybe he's not getting that affection at home. So the fact that he probably very bravely asked for that affection and then got hit with that at such a young age, that's gonna affect him for the rest of his life.
All right, guys, so I'm up out of here with this one, man. All I'm saying is, if you got kids, get on top of it. You gotta have these conversations with your sons, because they ain't playing out there no more. If you got nephews, same thing. You got godsons, whatever is going on, get out there and talk to these young boys. You got young boys in your community. Anywhere you're coming across young boys, you gotta say something. Give them a heads up. I'm not saying it's gonna make them bulletproof, but it's at least gonna somewhat, you know, hip them to the fact that, look, you're gonna be looked at as a target, enemy of the state. When I was young and I was growing up, the men in my life kept on reminding me, when you get around them white people, be careful. All right? And that wasn't to say don't interact with white folk. It wasn't to say don't have white friends. They encouraged me to do all of that. All they were saying is, just know, when it come time for the ruling, for the judgment, you're going to be judged unfairly, right? So they let me know that the rules are not the same for you. So we have to let our boys know now that, again, the rules are not the same for you. They're playing for keeps out here, y'all. All right, so listen, I'm up out of here. Let's keep it authentic. Oh, by the way, please, man, like the video. You know, go ahead and comment, put your 2 cents on it. Also, share this video, because this needs to get out of the manosphere. All right, this needs to get into the mainstream. We got to do something about this, because this is happening on our watch, right? As Americans, as adults, this is happening on our watch. The women, I pretty much gave up on them, because the women are just, I don't know, bro. I don't know how women nowadays can really, like, just completely disconnect from guys like we're not even human, bro. I don't even know how they do it, bro. They're that selfish. But I tell you this much, it's to destroy us all. So they're suffering too. You look at the women, they're going to be suffering more and more. The more that men and boys suffer, in turn, is going to be the more that women suffer. All right, guys. So listen, keep it in rotation, man. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one. Peace.